I'm Thomas, and this is my final project.
I don't know, this degree show has unintentionally ended up kind of being a culmination of like the things that I've been working on over the past 3 years. And I guess the best way to kind of thematically title the whole project is kind of an interrogation on contemporary viewing spaces and using kind of the gallery and the art world and the studio and the artist and all the actors amongst the art world as and all the materials that come with it as the medium of the work. So it's not painting or sculpture, the medium is the materials that are found in, I guess, the art spaces. So obviously paintings and sculptures come into it. It started with a lot of sketches of kind of just like studio spaces of like from photos off the internet. And kind of really thinking about how, yeah, what are the tropes and what are the kind of aesthetics of these spaces from shows, but like of the art obviously, but like more so the architecture and like how the security, where the security guards sit and like things like that. Frieze London is a very entertaining place to go to people watch. But it's kind of just like we're in London and there's so many spaces that show art. And they're all so different and they all have different histories and different reasons for, I guess, being the way that they are. And the architecture is always different, but the end goal is still show art. And they seem to be so thought out and so well curated and everything, yet there are contradictions in the space and how the space is imbued with little techniques and little things and to control and to kind of walk you through the space and control. Yeah, it is controlling your experience of the artwork, which I don't know on what side how I feel about that. For me, the interest in painting is what can painting do that nothing else can't. There's a million things that you can do with paint, textures and colors and like layers and things that you could never do with photography. So why would I paint like a photo? I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. End-all decider of what it's going to be. I'm quite open to like my intuition when I'm painting the painting. Yeah, here we go. There's a Photoshop composite for that painting. Kind of ruins the magic a little bit. Kind of ways I work through my paintings is I build these canvases. Yeah, I build the canvases before I know what's going to go on them. And then I kind of force, or that inspires, or I force a composition into it. And like, I don't know, as a general rule, it's like try and get as much variety of color in the same like kind of centimeter squared as you can, I guess. Or like, yes, I'm painting a white wall. Yes, it's flat. But that doesn't mean that there can't be like purples and pinks and blues still in that white wall and it still look white. Yeah, so I guess I build everything myself. And so building non-square canvases is not necessarily the easiest of things because you've got to be quite precise in the measurements and stuff like that. So it's all scrap wood that I found in a skip just around the corner. Big pile of it. And then scrap canvas actually, which I found in an old lady's attic. And she was the village seamstress. I don't know, this is kind of irrelevant, but she was the village seamstress. And so she had her initials on this canvas and I just found all this canvas. And so it's kind of a nice thing. I haven't bought any of the materials apart from the paint, I guess. that have gone into the work, which is kind of nice and kind of fits thematically with my sculptures as well. Because those were all recuperated from an old installation that I did where I kind of installed a big, I reconfigured the architecture of this gallery, and so I built these plasterboard walls that kind of fit seamlessly into the architecture. But then obviously that finishes and you've got to take it all down, and so I had this, I've got quite this kind of epic photo of all the materials when I'd finished, and so it was kind of all the wood and all the bits of plasterboard and everything. And this one was, in this one I'm trying to be a little bit less directly representative, as much as I'm still, it's still, yeah, the theme is still within the same scope, but trying to be a bit more playful. I don't know, I struggle with being super abstract because it doesn't really mean anything in lots of cases. So I'm kind of trying to push myself a little bit and yeah, let the paint do the work a little bit more than just the image that I'm representing, I guess. I'd say I've always been into it really. I don't know, my dad's an architect and my mum is a textile artist. So it's kind of always been there. I knew very early on that I wanted to go to art school just because it seemed like the most fun place to be. And I still think that stands as a statement. I don't know, I've got friends doing engineering and law and other such things. It just doesn't seem as fun. Like, I can do anything here, so why would I want to do anything else? So I'm going to draw out the final sketch, which will instruct the different cuts that I'm going to do for this wall. Yeah, make the mistakes on paper so I don't have to make them in real life. So obviously the straight lines I can put in the same place because it's quite easy, you just measure from the side. But I've come across this problem before where as much as my curve starts and ends in the same place, it ends up being a couple centimeters off in the middle. So I might have to cut the first piece and then use that as like a stencil or a marking. So I can just trace the exact same curve. Just trying to get all the paintings to a state where they're balanced and look finished. Finishing touches. Yeah, just making sure that my shadows are in the right place and the details of focus are where I want them to be. So this bench, now that the floor and the ceiling have all kind of been more finished, the bench was the first thing I did. It looks a bit light and a bit, the oil paint has gone a bit matte, and I want it to be a little bit more reflective and a little bit more shiny, kind of like the walls and the ceiling is. Because of the joint, the type of joint that I did, it's actually warped the wood on either side so it doesn't sit straight or flat. Complicated to frame it because these are straight, and so they're not going to sit flush all the way. I don't know how I feel about the difference in colours of wood. When I was framing, I got to the top, and like the wood is a very similar color to the brown at the top. So it felt kind of repetitive to frame it because it's like brown bar kind of frames it at the top anyway. So it felt kind of repetitive, and the two browns kind of clashed. So I came up with this kind of cool, the frame is like open, or like, I don't know, like the canvas has just been slipped into the frame. And then, I don't know, it adds a dimension of perspective, and it reinforces the kind of shape of the canvas. So I'm trying to kind of reuse that kind of technique, I guess. Good question. I don't know, the other one, so yeah, I was thinking about it, and this one doesn't work as well in the same way that these do, just because it's kind of naturally framed by the canvas already. And this is the one where, like, I guess there are still very slight marks, but I taped it all up, so it's, well, I always say that. It's still a bit dirty, but I don't know, and it doesn't have that same, like, obvious piece in the composition to use. After like getting the wood technicians to like look at my drawings and stuff like that, and then friends and everything, they were like, you're just going to make your life really difficult using scrap wood. And you could do it, but it's never going to be as straight and flush as like a gallery wall or like this type of wall. So no, I bought new wood. Do I measure out the wood at in the right place, somehow like stick that down to the floor and not move, and then just put the pieces on top? To add more to the complication of how many different possibilities there are, I bought a bunch of brackets to possibly, like, that I would then bend, and then like I could attach the painting out at an angle, which I think is quite interesting because nothing is straight. Why would all the paintings just be hung classically? The whole point of this wall and the hole is to kind of, I don't know, like the viewer's path, it goes in and then it kind of hits this, it like kind of bounces, and then you get led around into here. And another reason why this wall, I wanted this wall to come up close to this wall and to have a relatively narrow gap, was to force the viewer up close to a painting, which in theory goes here. Because, well, for one, I like, when I look at paintings, I'm always really close up into them. And I was trying to force not force, but yeah, get the viewer to make that movement without necessarily knowing that they're making that movement, or intentionally or whatever. I know it's broken, but I can fix that. Was originally painted with the intention of it going here. And I know you can't necessarily step back from it, but the central pillar here was supposed to speak to that and emulate that. You have the two spaces, which are like gallery, open, public, and then the behind the scene, which is a little bit more private, which would then lead to having the bookshelf on this side, that one there. It's got good space around it. The painting kind of opens up this way into a way. I have to say the direction of it goes that way, so it makes kind of sense for it. It's interesting.
Here we are at the degree show, and the project is completed after 6 months of working away in the studios and spending hours and hours fitting through details. Overall, I'm pretty happy, to be honest. I'm not usually super satisfied with all of my paintings. I've had a good 3 weeks away from them, so I think that's definitely helped have new eyes on them and kind of appreciate them for what they are now. And the fact that they're all displayed, I can't touch them anymore, so I'm not worrying about extra details that I might add or whatever. So I've kind of, I've walked on from it. The one that for someone that I'm the most proud of, I think it would be, I think it still is this one, which is one of the first ones that I did. And it's, I think, the simplest. It's the most kind of clinical and representative of those kind of gallery aesthetics that you might find. The others hint more at details and personal experiences of visiting these places, but this one is just straight on gallery space. London Metropolitan University. It's honestly all around been an absolute pleasure to spend time here. From pretty much day one, everybody was super welcoming, super supportive. Everybody was, all the staff in particular, very interested in what you want to bring to the table, very pushing you to just do what you want to do. So that was always really appreciative, and I think you can see that based on the entire degree show, the variety in work. Yeah, the space has been really good. That's probably been my favorite part of it, is just spending time here. Well, the title of the whole show is A Viewing Condition. And the sentence that would follow would be something along the lines of the effect of space, architecture, your environment on your experience when looking at art.